What's up, otakus? Whoa, man, um, the internet, the internet is viral with uh, the teaser trailer, and it looks like, um, well, first of all, let me just say that I knew Superman was going to be uh, pushed from the DC Warner Brothers side. They were going to put a lot of money into this project. Um, the fact that they, brought in James Gunn to build out from this premiere sort of movie, setting up the new sort of DC universe. Um, but you knew, they were bringing in all these big name actors, or talented actors. I shouldn't say big name, but talented actors. Um, so you knew it was going to get a good amount of marketing budget to really promote the film. And this teaser and so mind you, the real trailer is probably going to be launched on Super Bowl Sunday. Um, you know, and the teaser trailer is just this really short. They just kind of give you little nuggets of what to expect, but it looks great. It looks really good, and you know, I'm really glad. I was hoping Superman would make a comeback, um, and he's making a comeback in the best way. Uh, what I mean by that is what I've noticed. I've noticed a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people on social media, just kind of jumping on the bandwagon, enjoying, like going back and watching the original Superman movie. Um, I've enjoyed so many like videos of young people watching the Christopher Reeve movie for the first time. And what is prompting them to do that? Well, this the thing on the horizon, the Superman movie on the horizon, you know, it's kind of like, and then, the documentary came out. There's sort of all this sort of there's like buzz on social media around the legacy of Superman. And this is what I'm really just heartened to see. Um, yeah, just, I mean, young women watching Superman, the original movie, and loving it and liking it, right? Young men watching it, enjoying it, getting hyped about this upcoming Superman movie. Pretty much everybody in the comic book community kind of just latching on, and it seems like they're taking a positive approach. Now, yeah, you have your naysayers, you have your haters, you have your Marvel files. But I really just feel like this is a new chapter for DC. In this movie, my prediction is it's going to knock it out of the park. It's going to be um, just one of the best, I think, superhero movies we've seen in a while, and it's also going to incorporate a lot of the DC Universe characters. So it's not just like a standalone film, but it's setting up the pieces for subsequent movies and integrating the DC characters. So I'm going to see probably Wonder Woman, Batman, Flash, all the good stuff, and yeah, I'm just so excited. So it's really this teaser trailer really just kind of kicked off a countdown to July. Now July is not that far away. I mean, like we're already in December, so we're talking about like 8 months away. And, um, it's just been really, I've been waiting for this film for like almost 2 years now. When I got back into collecting, they made the announcement that Gunn was going to be, you know, directing and kind of producing all the subsequent DCU um, studio movies. So this is a new production company. Um, they are creating a new continuity or new timeline in movies. This is really the Superman's the first of many planned projects, including TV, including animation. So it's just a really, I think, exciting time. And Gunn is taking a real thoughtful approach. He's been critical of some of the movies that have come out recently where they've greenlit things because they just want the IP out. Um, and they've attached writers and directors, and the writing was poor, the planning was poor. It was pushed on a very quick timeline, and I think he's really kind of like, I mean, it sounds like he's really uh, talking about Marvel, right? Marvel's last couple of projects, including the Sony projects, have been, it's been more about let's get movies out, let's make money. Doesn't matter, like people will watch it. You attach Spider-Man, you attach something Marvel related, people will watch it. Um, and that just hasn't been. I mean, yeah, people are still watching it, but they're not enjoying it. So, it's nice to see Gunn understanding that. There's always a risk, when you put something new out there. There's always a risk that um, whether it'll be well received by a mass audience or not. But this movie looks like it has a little bit of everything. It's got romance, it's got the action, it's got crypto, which is really what the teaser trailer was about. The teaser trailer was about that very specific scene. It was like Superman's hurt. He whistles for his dog. The dog comes running. He gives Crypto his cape to like kind of bite onto, and he says, "Take me home." And boom, Crypto's gone, kind of dragging his master back to uh, Kansas or the Fortress of Solitude or somewhere. But it was so cool to see that. They got really cute dog to portray Crypto. So I mean, it's just a lot of stuff for people to love. I mean, that dog is going to get so much freaking attention and love um, leading up to the movie. It's going to be crypto. It's going to be the year of crypto, like not the current cryptocurrency, but the super dog, right? The year of the super dog. Um, so yeah, I'm hyped. I'm very hyped. And come Saturday, Jeff and I are going to talk ad nauseum about this project, this movie. And we're gonna watch the trailer again. We're gonna rewatch the trailer live. Um, there's a lot of little details in there that I probably missed, but for the most part, they just kind of introduced a lot of the characters that are gonna be in there. We saw Guy Gardner, we saw Hawk Girl, we saw the Lois Lane, Lex Luthor. Um, we saw yeah, just a bunch of like kind of new and old characters. So it should be very interesting, and the special effects look fantastic. The suit looks fantastic. It's obviously the suit itself kind of looked like a like clothes, right? Had all the little kind of suit wrinkles and all that, but in post, they just like cleaned it up There's no like, there's no wrinkles or anything. It's just like boom, smooth fit. Uh, it looks just like Kevlar or something on the Superman suit. So I mean, it's yeah, it's gonna be the suit. The suit is the last thing I'm worried about. The suit, I'm on board with the suit. It's like combination of classic suit and new 52 suit. It's like they bred these two suits and out popped the progeny, which is the suit we're going to see in the upcoming Superman movies. So it's a countdown. Everybody's hyped. Otakus, I know you're hyped. And, my channel is going to be covering a lot of the, I guess, news around Superman, details around Superman, without giving away, like, you know, without trying to give away too much. I'm going to try to stay away from speculation and all that. But, we'll probably go over like the cast of characters, who's going to be in it, potential villains. Um, it looks like we don't have a clear indication of who the villain is, but it's somebody very powerful, somebody who could like wound Superman, potentially kill him, and someone I think from another dimension. So like we're talking about like uh, another alien race, um, and there's rumors that it could be Brainiac, right? Um, it would make sense to go if you're going to go with a big movie like this to bring out a big baddie. And Lex Luthor is not the big baddie yet. He's introduced as somebody who's kind of befriending Clark, kind of pretending to be a friend, but in the background, planning something nefarious or related to that. But the actual baddie in the first one, again, speculation, rumors are it could be Brainiac, and I'm on board for Brainiac, um, because this would just set up everything for Candor, for Kara, Supergirl to make. I mean, it just transitions so well if you bring Brainiac in and explain, sort of the larger uh, legacy and background around again the city in a bottle, the Kandorians, and Superman's. That the fact that he's not alone. There's more Kryptonians than you think. Right in the past, Superman was the only Kryptonian, minus Kara, like his cousin Supergirl, and but this I like the way Gunn is approaching it. Gunn's like, nope, you got a super dog, you got Supergirl, you're probably gonna see Streaky, right? You're gonna see Streaky, the super cat. Um, but Streaky is not like a Kryptonian cat. Streaky just had mutated into like having superpowers. You might see like all the super pets, like what the super horse, what's his name, and super monkey. You might see all the super pets. But I'm just super stoked that it's that they're that DC's gonna see its day finally. Finally, DC's gonna see its day, and I kind of I kind of was really when I got back into collecting, that was one of the things I was focused on. I was really focused on building out a good Superman collection. Um, Even before this movie got announced, I was in that mindset. And then when it got announced, I was like, let's do it. Let's try to collect as much like Action Comics, Superman, Superman related content um, as we can. And today's top 10 list is we're going to cover the best Superman Batman covers in my collection. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get to it soon. Um, One thing I wanted to mention was so Travis from Comics Unlimited. He's a I don't know, a bunch of you are in our comics trading group on Instagram. And occasionally people post things that they're wanting to trade or sell in that message uh, loop. And I recently shared my trade box items I want to trade away or sell. And I shared the video link in that. And yeah, no one really was responsive to it except Comics Limited. Travis was like, I'm interested in the Captain America books and the classic X-Men books. And I said in the video, I was like, if you want the classic X-Men, you got to take them all. It's because it's like I have this like little run that I was kind of like half-ass like wanting to collect, but not really. Um, and ultimately, it's like because there's a lot of issues in that. For to me to try to finish that would have been very painstaking. I mean, I could have done it because they're like they're two to $1 books. I guess dollar bin books. Sometimes you'll see them for $2. Um, but and definitely you could have picked up a collection. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible to do it. It just would have been time consuming and consuming space. And at the end of it, it's just they're just reprints, right? They're reprints. I love those reprints though, because those are the reprints I read and got attached to as a collector. But ultimately, like the value of that collection, in my view, uh, just wasn't worth the expenditure. Um, they do have a bunch of great Arthur Adams covers, though, and I think that may be the reason why Travis wants those issues because of those incredible Art Adams X Men covers. Also, just they're great. Dave Cockrum and John Byrne interiors of the original, series, along with great side comics by John Bolton. Really great series there. So anyway, there was about 8 issues of classic X-Men plus 2 issues of Bronze Age Captain America, Jack Kirby goodness. Jack Kirby doing everything. He's doing the pencils, the inks, and the writing of the book. So it's a complete Jack Kirby work. He did a run of that on Captain America with the Falcon, right? It's actually called Falcon and Captain America. Captain America and the Falcon 199 and 201. I sent him those 2 issues, plus a reprint of Captain America Black Panther, a Kirby reprint from the Bronze Age. Silver Age reprint, a Bronze Age reprint of a Silver Age book by Kirby, a Marvel team up book. Again, Captain America and Black Panther. So 11 books in all. I sent him. He sent me what 6 or 7 books. I'm trying to remember here. I think I'm getting 7 books. He was very generous. It was like 6 books. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was 6 books, and then he generously threw in an extra book I was looking for. He didn't have to do that, but he just did. And so yeah, we're doing. I sent 11 books, and I'm getting 7 books. So pretty equivalent trade. I was Um, it ended up being more books because it's filling up a run that I'm actually collecting, and I think I'm filling up a run he's trying to finish up. So it worked out, I think, uh, in the best interest of both of us. So I'm going to be, I think, getting that package tomorrow. So we're going to do an unboxing and, you know, good old Friday comic book haul, trade haul. It'll be a good old Friday comic book trade haul. You don't want to miss it. We got some pretty good books in that. One in particular, I've been looking for it. And then I kind of sent him out a message of some books I was looking for, and he's like, "I have that one." So I'm just like, "Yes!" And we got that was kind of like the thing that led to us finalizing the trade, and so that book we're gonna review tomorrow. It's gonna be fun. All right, so check that out tomorrow. Hey Kenneth, what's up, man? Are you excited about the Superman movie or what? I know everybody who watches my channel knows how pumped I was uh prior to the trailer, but now I mean with the trailer dropping, it's confirmed. It's basically confirmed, um, or it's eased my anxiety around whether the film would be good or not. I think the film's going to be fantastic. Looking at some of the images, um, and just kind of knowing what Gunn is going for, right? He's talking about defining the essence of Superman, which, to be honest, for a long time has been missing. Even in Smallville, right? Smallville, it was like it was more about a young man coming to terms with his powers, kind of discovering who he was, but you know, ultimately his good nature, his willingness to sacrifice himself for the good of Smallville. It was kind of building up to defining who Superman was, but it never really. I mean, you had themes of it, you had shades of it, but it was just really like a week to week kind of like boy solves mystery or solves whatever calamity in Smallville, and tries to fall in love with his first love sweetheart, and meets his second love and eventually marries her. It wasn't really centered around who is Superman, right? It's more centered around like a character driven piece versus like um, yeah, what does Superman symbolize? Like what does he mean to to a contemporary world, a contemporary America, contemporary world? That those things were never really addressed in the Smallville um, series, and so anything outside of that, even like the '90s Lois and Superman or Lois and Clark Kent, that was just a romance. It was very light. Superman was almost like kind of goofy in that one, to be honest. I didn't watch the new, Superman um, television series. I heard a lot of good things about it, but I just never liked the look of that guy as Superman. I didn't like the fact that here he was with like two super sons, and Lois is living on the farm now, and somehow they became like the Kents with superpowers. Um, that that's fine. That's just another chapter of Superman, another stage in his life. But for me, it's really just like, come on, give me the meat and potatoes of the character, right? He's in Metropolis. He's a reporter. He's in love with Lois. He's fighting Lex Luthor. He's fighting all the criminals of Metropolis, and then the universe, really, right? Give me that Superman. So and that's what we're getting. So and that's what I mean, like, and that's the thought. That's the thoughtful nature of Gunn's, I think, movie. He is going to make sure younger audiences understand who Superman is, the legacy around this character, the 80, what is it? We're approaching 90 years, right? The Yeah, it'll be it's like 85-year history of this character. No, it's 88. It's 88-year history of the character. No, 87 years. 87-year history of this character. That spans the last century in terms of, I should say, the 20th century in terms of our modernization, our industrialization, our modernization, our post-war development, how we define, post-war democracy. Um, uh, yeah, just there's so many um, American patriotic type uh, symbolism in the story over the years, and that's, I think, people have to understand that when people come to this project, they're not coming with like, oh, like Henry Cavill looks great in a new underwearless suit. No, 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 no. We're going back. You're going back. You're getting all the homework. Um, you're really getting a modern take on the Reeve Superman. This is ultimately what it is. It's a Christopher Reeve Superman, but with a modern take and with a more expansive sort of universal um, a universe to work with, I should say. The Reeve film really was just local to uh, Metropolis, Lex Luthor, right? The three guys from the three Kryptonians from the Phantom Zone, stuff like that. But this is like, boom, you're bringing in Batman, you're bringing in Wonder Woman, you're bringing in the entire DC uh, universe, and you're putting Superman at the head of it. And he will, and then after we position that, do we make sure everybody understands that every comic book fan, no matter what age you are, the older ones know it. The older ones already know. Us older guys, we know. You know, you have a pyramid of superheroes. Who's at the top of that pyramid? Superman. But the younger people don't. For these like young people who think Iron Man's at the top of that pinnacle, or Captain America, or Hulk, or whatever, Spider Man, get out of here, right? This is just comic book 101, making sure everybody and their mom and their grandma and your baby and your like 4-year-old niece and nephews, that they know Superman is the number one, the original OG superhero. Okay? Don't get twisted. It's not even a debate. Just educate yourself and move on. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get to the list. These are my top 10 Batman and Superman covers. Now, they're, these are sort of honorable mentions to the list. They're not on the list per se, but the reason they're not in the list is because, I should say, they're not on the list because it's not Superman and Batman. But I don't make that a specific requirement. These could be on the list, um, but I tended to focus on books that have Batman and Superman as a central focus. So here, yes, there's central focus, but there's also an equal partner in that central focus, and that is Wonder Woman. Same here. So, when it comes to Trinity covers and all that, I tried to take nothing against Trinity. Like, it's just this is Batman, Superman, and this is it's about best buds. They're best buds, right? They're friends. Um, I know in recent years, certain creators, I won't name names, tried to make them frenemies and tried to make them, like, Superman versus Batman. Batman's the can outsmart Superman, has the kryptonite and all that malarkey, um, which I've been saying for a long time, is just malarkey. But you got a whole generation to swallow that ridiculous pill, um, to where a lot of people think Batman's the cooler character. Um, it is what it is. I'm not going to argue and like try to convince you otherwise because I think Batman's pretty cool too. But yeah, when it's like covers like this where they're not the central focus, I tried to keep them off the list. So we're focusing on the top 10 books, Superman, Batman covers. All right, here we go. Number 10. Number 10. We have a variant cover for Batman 45. This is just Jim Lee goodness from 2018. Superman flying there, Batman pointing to something with the bat signal in the background. And I love how Jim took a very apolitical, approach, or political, I should say, political approach to the underwear question. He just made it very dark to where you can't tell what color the underwear is. Um, and you still got camps thinking they hate the underwear. You got camps thinking you got to put the underwear on. I'm of the red underwear camp. It's a classic look. Can't change a character's classic look. And to be honest, everybody has underwear in comic books. Wolverine's wearing underwear. Cyclops is wearing underwear. Colossus is wearing underwear. Shit, even like I mean, Spider-Man's wearing spandex. He's wearing long johns. At the end of the day, underwear should not be people's like obsession with costume design. This is the original underwear, okay? You gotta keep the original underwear on the original character and be happy with it and stop complaining and whining about Henry Cavill, how you wanna see Henry Cavill, his hairy ass Cavill, don the suit with no underwear. No, I don't want to see that. No one wants to see that. So quit harping about it. All right, that was number 10. Number 9. This is one where you have more characters on the cover than Superman and Batman, but I just feel like this is sort of one of the exceptions to the rule. We got World's Finest 169. This is our early appearances of like Supergirl and Batgirl. Um, and I think give Gunn enough time, and when you see Batman and Superman and all these characters introduced, you're gonna see Barbara Gordon, you're gonna see Supergirl. Um, in the context of all these characters' relationships. And that's what I'm really excited about. Because up to this point, these were just like siloed characters. You never saw them um, interact with one another. And that's really the exciting, potential, the future that we're going to see once, DC starts greenlighting all these gun projects to, you know, come to the big screen, the small screen, the DVD, animated DVDs, whatever this is kind of like we're marching toward this kind of future, I think. So very, very cool. This is just a classic cover of powerless Batman and Superman changing a tire on the Batmobile, which looks beat up. It looks like a jalopy. And somehow Supergirl and Batgirl are behind it, and they're just enjoying just a fun cover. Gotta love the Silver Age. Just a lot of fun covers like this in the Silver Age. And yeah, this is just one of my favorite covers of the duo of all time, and just a fantastic Kurt Swan cover there. So that is number. This actually could have been higher, but I kind of dropped it because it wasn't just Batman and Superman, or yeah, it wasn't like where they're just kind of like the only two characters that are in the focus. So, but it is what it is. I still think it's a great book. Probably should have been higher on the list. This next one is another great cover, Jim Lee cover here. We've got Superman in the Bat Cave. Batman's like, "What is old man Kal-El doing in my cave?" Uh, this is just a Jim Lee uh, classic cover here on Infinite Crisis #3. And this is signed by the late great George Perez. So it's just one of my favorite books of the collection. Just a, you got Crisis, old man Crisis Superman right there. And Batman's like, wait, what's going on here? Kind of is taken aback. You got uh, what is that? Batwoman. Is that Catwoman or Batwoman? That's Catwoman and Robin back there, just chilling. All right, that was number 8. Counting down the hits here. We got number 7. This is just another one of my favorite covers. This story is just, it's just one of those classic stories where like both characters are kind of trying to keep something from the other character, and ends up being like they both know the secret. But yeah, please don't tell your friends the secret of the executioner's list. We have Superman saying, "I must destroy this list because Batman can decipher it in his Bat cave." And then and then Batman saying, "I must burn this list before Superman can decode it in his fortress of solitude." And yeah, there you just set in motion a fun, Three's Company episode, basically. All right, so great, just a great cover. Batcave, Candor there. Just, I mean, what more do you want on a world's finest cover? Classic Kurt Swan cover right there. All right, that was number 7. This is number 6. Number 6, we got some Neil Adams goodness. I love this cover. First off, it's I think this is it's one of those wraparound covers. Um, but man, is it just a beautiful cover? It's like Man Batman. Yeah, it's Man Batman. It's Man Batman choking out Superman. Superman fights for his very life against his best friend as the Batman falls victim to the Krypton curse. What's going on here? I don't know, but uh, that Neil Adams artwork is wanting to make me buy the book. Neil Adams has sold a mini book with this kind of artwork on the cover. So um, just a nice showcase. All right, here's a cover that I picked up this summer. This is just a book. Um, I was referring to the creator. I'm just going to name him. I'm going to out Mr. Frank Miller. Frank Miller is kind of like, eighth grade me loved, yeah, seventh, eighth grade me loved me some Frank Miller. I should say, yeah, well, younger than that. Like fifth, sixth grade me loved me some Frank Miller. But as I've gotten older and as Frank has put out more crap um, as of late, um, toward the latter part of his career, we're talking like post Sin City film, right? Once he started getting into this, like the Hollywood aspect, um, his books have been kind of like, what? Like, kind of just out there, kind of old and crazy, like, you know, takes in his like novel, and then the whole like the gritty like noir, kind of ultra violent, uh, tones he's setting in his books just gotten stale. It's kind of like, oh, that's Miller. Yeah, he hasn't really graduated from. Um, but again, the whole body of his work, he's put out so much legendary stuff. I'm just talking like in the last decade or so, it's just been kind of blase. Um, yeah, I'd say in the past, you um, past 15 years, it's just been kind of like whatever. Um, but this series is a masterpiece. But there's a big but. This last book. So in this book, so Superman doesn't age, right? Batman's super old in this one, but he's sort of outlived all the heroes, and Superman's seen like, um, all like he's seen Lois has passed, Jimmy Olsen has probably passed, like all his human colleagues and friends have passed, and kind of becomes this sort of just like, it's not about human relationships anymore, right? Because all the people he cared about are gone, and it's not like he's making new friends and all that. So he becomes sort of this agent of he sticks to his like principles, which is like this America first take. Um, so he ends up being the puppet of the U.S. government, and the American government just uses them as this sort of like weapon of mass destruction to go and um, win wars. And he's like, in this series, he's like in Russia, basically fighting a one man battle against that nation and winning, right? Because he can't be destroyed. And so, he's kind of just become this sort of um, political puppet, uh, and just sort of a yes man. And he's being controlled by uh, the powers that be in the U.S. And Batman takes issue with that. Basically calls him a sellout. Superman's a sellout in this series. And yeah, I mean that's a good take on it. I guess you could. It's a take. I don't want to say it like that's the take. It's a take. But the thing is, this was such a popular book. It's like people took it too far. They like basically said, okay, yeah, Superman's future is like this is him, like they basically put all these like negative connotations from this one book, and they just attached it to the character and said like, yeah, Superman's not as smart as Batman could take him down. Superman's a puppet, Superman's a sellout, blah 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 blah, and they just really shat on the character um needlessly. And it's you just we've never really been able to divorce the the perception that this created. And that single act alone, I think, makes Frank Miller just guilty, guilty of character murdering Clark. But anyway, this is a classic. First of all, it's a classic cover by Miller. It's Superman versus Batman. It's what set up the whole Cavill versus um, Affleck battle. This was the impetus for that. Even the suit visuals are the same in the design movie. Um, I didn't watch that movie, and I didn't want to watch it because I just was like, in real life, Batman could never take out Superman, and he wouldn't want to take out Superman. But he could, the whole this whole nemesis thing just is not who these two characters are. It's just, again, it's a byproduct of this comic book, and I'm just sad that that made it all the way to mass audiences, because it's hard to unprogram a mass audience once they've been fed some garbage like this. Um, I shouldn't say garbage. It's a classic book, but this is, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if people think this is somehow erasing 80 years of what the actual character is, that's what I take issue with. And it's not just mass audience. It's actually modern day comic book collectors too. You ask, when you ask people about Superman, they think this Superman, and they think, man, Superman's boring. Well, he's got all the powers. He's so boring. Um, anyway, um, this is what I don't appreciate about this book. It's a great book, though. You got to read it. It's a must read. But just know it's a take on Superman. Don't think of this as the take on Superman. But you got to love that Frank Miller cover there. Boom. Battling, battling. Boom. All right. That was number 5, right? Let's see. We got 5 more books. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we got 4 more books left. 4 more books left. Okay. This next book is another book I picked up over the summer, and I love it. I just love this book. It's in pretty decent grade, and fantastic artwork, fantastic interiors. But what you have here is um, World's Finest, 179. It's an 80-page giant size. Got this incredible cover by Neil Adams, Batman and Superman, kind of presenting two golden age tales, so that are reprinted in this issue. One is an origin story of Superman Batman team up, and another is their first appearance here on Superman 76. Yeah, the first appearance of the two teaming up, their first team up in comic books. So this is a huge book, which is actually, I want this book, this Golden Age book, but it's a huge book. I mean, you'd have to get it in like low grade, and you'd have to like pay for it. It's going to be quite substantial, but you'd have to get it. It'd have to be a low grade book. But the other issue is like it rarely. I shouldn't say it doesn't rarely. It's rarely for sale in low grade at a price I can afford. There's kind of think like lower mid grade copies are just like out of my price range. But um, the best I could do was just to get this kind of special the reprint and this great Neil Adams cover. That's as good as I think I'm going to get to owning this book. But yeah, just a fantastic cover by Neil Adams. It's done a lot of great Batman and Superman covers. Case in point, number 3 on our list. is World's Finest 180. And this is just a classic Neil Adams cover. I'm about to commit my first crime, and you, Batman, are about to be the victim. He's going to throw him off this high rise um, that's under construction here, right? Because that's what you do if you're a superhero. This is how you take out your enemies. Just throw them off, throw them off a building. What's interesting is Neil Adams. He liked this cover a lot, and went went the Trinity route again by and again. Yeah, I don't like that. He went underwearless. With this was the era, the new costumes. It would have been better in the classic costumes, but can't fault Neil Adams. He was just given the assignment. But yeah, he homaged himself here with the modern take, exact same like dialogue there, except Superman instead of Batman. You got Diana ready to. Now, come on, like Diana, that's not going to kill Superman. This would kill Batman, but that just a drop off what looks like a couple stories. It's not gonna. Superman's not gonna feel it. Sleep through the whole thing. But that's kind of cool. Past meets present. All right. Down to number two. Number two could have easily been number one. That's how much I love that. I mean, this is just like one of my favorite covers, period. Whether it's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, whatever, it's just one of my favorite covers, period. And I'm really fortunate to have um, three copies of it. That is Batman 612. We have a newsstand edition. Got two direct editions. And this is another Batman versus Superman battle in this Hush run. But there's a catch. This speaks volume. This is what I love this book. It's like it puts their friendship in focus because they are ultimately their friends. They're like they trust each other. They try to help each other out whenever possible. But in this, so Superman gets he's his mind is taken over by Poison Ivy, and he's just hell bent on killing Batman. But Batman and Superman actually plan for this scenario, and Superman gives Batman like a kryptonite ring. It says like if it ever comes to a point where like I am a menace to the earth because I've been compromised, like my mind has been compromised, or like something about me has been compromised. I trust you to use this ring responsibly to take me out. And that's what Batman does. Batman just puts on the kryptonite ring and just lays him out, just lays Superman out. But yeah, I mean, if it was a real battle and you didn't give Superman those little kryptonite weaponry advantages, this is the outcome. Uh, in a thousand out of a thousand scenarios, this is the outcome. Superman just bringing Batman to his knees. People don't underestimate, like, first of all, the speed at which he moves, Superman moves, okay? The acceleration and speed and his mass, okay? That alone, he's faster than the speed of light. Now combine that with heat vision that's very intense, like can melt metal. Um, when it's focused, it has the it can reach temperatures, close to the sun, right? So that combination alone, there's nothing on Earth that could really, you know, that's a matchup for Superman. Nothing in the Marvel universe that would be even close to matching that. Um, and this is just like, you know, that's not even taking into consideration super strength, super hearing. Like he can hear, and he had a plan. Outside of being psychic, he can hear whatever you're planning, right? So it's not like you can like be the X-Men and just like try to strategize like as you're like trying to take him down. No, like he's hearing you from like 50 feet away what you're trying to do. Um, People took the Superman of TDKR way too seriously. Frank Miller disliked him, but it's still maybe the best Batman story. No, I absolutely agree. Like um, the Dark Knight Returns is a classic, and the his take on Superman at even when I was reading at the time, I was just like I was kind of on board too, and I love Superman. Um, because Superman gets humbled in the end and he changes and that's the thing like it's not like Superman stayed this like piece of shit like sellout. No, he changes his ways. But it took a beat down from Batman for him to understand that. So I mean ultimately kind of works out. But like you said, people, just that it created the perception that Superman's not a cool character. Um and it and really the popularity of Batman with the movie in the late 80s, he became sort of this larger in life cult of pop culture. And Superman kind of just like he was the character, your uncle or your grandparents liked. He was the um, it was like a decade removed. I mean, Christopher Reeve was still playing Superman during during the Frank Miller era. But by that time, it was kind of like it wasn't being well received. The movies weren't that good. Christopher Reeve was kind of aging out of that character. So it was just kind of this like transition. And Superman never made a comeback after that sort of like hostile takeover by Batman. Batman's just been kind of keeping uh, the DC company alive with his popularity when it shouldn't have been. It should never gotten to that point. And there are things you can look to that maybe contributed to that, but definitely the Dark Knight Returns, that outcome. So many people, comic book fans, reading that. I don't know one comic book fan that hasn't read that book. So you're pretty much talking about like canon narrative at this point, um, and people just adopting that take uh, literally. But yeah, there are other factors too, marketing factors. I think just people were maybe they were fed up with the whole, you know, I come from a small town, all my friends are small town folks or whatever. What's that John Cougar Mellencamp song? I feel like Superman's a John Cougar Mellencamp song, and people were just ready for like hip hop, right? They wanted to hear hip hop, not John Cougar Mellencamp, whatever the case may be. Oh, that's where you're wrong. Superman is as fast as Flash. Superman can travel the speed of light. I don't know if he's faster than the speed of light. I think he's can go the speed of light. And that's why they race. It's like Superman terrestrially. So, whenever they race, Superman's not flying. Superman's like, or no, Superman is flying when they race. And Flash is having to move terrestrially. But yeah, you're right. Like, they're so equal in terms of their speed. They're traveling the speed of light or faster than the speed of light. Um, that it's very close. I think, yeah, like hands down, Flash is faster. I mean, that's a given. But it's like Superman's just a hair, like a tad slower than Flash, but he's got the ability of flight, right? So when you're talking about linear movement, flying through the air linearly, you'll get somewhere faster than, well, you got to travel up and over, I guess. So it's maybe the same, but yeah, like traveling terrestrially, if you're to go over like a mountain range or something, that's at a distance. Um, but then, vectors, it's an interesting debate. Like, is it faster to fly or faster to run if you're going the same speed vectorially, just traveling a straight line on land versus heading up an altitude and heading back down? I guess, yeah, Flash would be faster, assuming his velocity doesn't change over a straight line, because that's what you're assuming. There's just no drag through the air. Well, I mean, drag, but very minimal. Versus like, if you think about like walking, right? Like everything's drag when you've got gravity and the ground that to contend with. But again, if you're moving at a speed at the rate of speed where those things become negligible, then I guess Flash would get there first. Is kind of what my argument is. All right. Well, thanks for joining, Miguel. Joining the convo. I think you're new to my channel. I hope you stick around and continue to check out what we have in store. All right, we are down to number one, the number one Superman Batman book, and technically this is not a Superman Batman book anymore. And I'll get into why it isn't anymore, but it was for the longest time a Batman Superman book for a very long time. And for our intents and purposes, this will remain a Superman Batman book. And, I'm just going to basically Superman Batman. No, sorry. I got him backwards. Sorry. This is the Superman Batman book, the best Superman Batman. So it's a connecting cover. It's two books actually, so technically it's not one cover; it's two covers, but they're connecting covers, so they connect to make one cover or one image off of two books. And this is just the best. This is just I think the best cover, one of the best like things you can do with comic books, essentially. And I have this sort of nice signed and sketched by Jim Lee. There you got like Batman Bat on the Dark Knight. You got Superman S on the Man of Steel. Can't really see it there. There. Can't really see it. I'll just get a good angle here. Kind of take it. There we go. Is that better? There you go. Superman S there. The symbol of Kryptonian symbol of hope is on his chest. So yeah, I mean, these are two of the top books in my collection. Anytime you talk Superman Batman, this mirror image connecting cover is, yeah, again, just these are iconic books for comic book collectors. It's what, I was out of collecting for many years. I stopped collecting in '97, and then when these books came out, I was like, I gotta get those books. Um, I never quite got this one, but I did get the Superman series when they came out, and read it, enjoyed it. But yeah, um, you know, this is without a doubt some of my favorites in the collection. All right, so just gonna put some of these back, and then we're gonna start wrapping up our conversation here. Let's get this back in here. Put my Wonder Woman back in there. Put my Robin back in there. Boom. And then we'll put the Superman book back. Station. And show off my Action Comics 1000 signed by Jim Lee in a 9/8. Show that off before I put it here. Boom. Got some Superman books for you to admire. Here's my Superman statue. The 208 Superman statue right there. That I should probably take that out and display it at some point. It's no use, no point keeping it in the box. Air it out. Yeah, again, I think what makes Superman great and what makes Batman great are are very different. Batman, um, they both are born out of tragedy, but the difference is Batman is old enough to is of age where he experiences the tragedy of having his parents killed in front of him. Right, that's a very traumatic thing, and his character is processing trauma by becoming this vigilante hero. Right, whereas Superman doesn't remember his birth parents. He's grown. He's raised in a very loving, middle America, farmland household, given the good old American values in his upbringing. Um, so you have a very different backgrounds, privileged, you know, Wayne Foundation, Wayne Manor, uh, rich kid, rich orphan versus an orphan who gets adopted into this loving, again, just middle America household where, sort of salt of the earth, do the work, work the land, reap the benefits, kind of, you know, very different backgrounds. Again, one dealing with trauma, one not ever having to really deal with trauma. First time Superman has to deal with trauma, and it's not all that traumatic. It's just one of those natural turns in life. In the original Superman movie, Clark's dad has a heart attack and passes, and that's kind of what prompts him to seek more, like doing more with his power, his time on Earth. Like God gave his father's last words is God gave you a gift, and you have to figure out what you're going to do with that gift, and that's what prompts him to kind of go out and really seek out what his purpose and who he is. And that's what I love about the original Richard Donner Superman film. It explores all that. It explores who the character is. And the more recent films haven't done that. The more recent series, films, whatever you want to call it, like animation, where it just assumes all that and doesn't explore it. But Gunn is bringing it full circle. He's really making a thoughtful movie that's reintroducing Superman to audiences. And so Miguel, kind of I'm going to um, take a little bit of a guess and uh, assume maybe you're if you've watched the original Superman movie. I'm talking about the Christopher Reeve Superman movie. Have you watched that? And if you have watched it, when did you watch it? Was it recently or was it many, many years ago? Yeah. I think Batman is a more relatable character because he's human. Um, and, he's just given the gift of um, being rich, the resources he has to really toward his mission, right? Which is kind of confusing to me about the whole absolute Batman. Absolute Batman has no money, so how is he? Like how is he sort of a? Um, I guess he's Batman without the gadgets. I just don't get like how the reason Bruce Wayne is able to get to this like place with the character is because he has resources. He can build the utility belt. He can, you know, basically get all the cool military grade gear and create all these like what he's Batman's very uh, smart, right? So he's not only training physically and trying to be in peak physical peak physical prowess, but he is like studying engineering and science and all that and applying it to like new materials, and he's doing all that in the back cave. So there's like two sides to him. There's the one that's just kind of training, and then another that's like very industrious and experimental and creative. So um, yeah, lots to love about Batman. And Batman, to be honest, has like some of the better characters, right? Because he's just always tackling like the insane, right? The maniacal, insane uh, characters, and it's always fun when you flesh those kinds of characters out, right? When you're building out, well, this crazy penguin. Why did Cobblepot? Chester Cobblepot. Why did he want to become the penguin? Right? There's all this background on what made the penguin penguin. So they're like character profiles on his villains and all that as well. Whereas Superman, you go back and look at a lot of the substance around his characters, and they're just kind of like, Lex Luthor is just this kind of genius who just like comes up with stuff like, oh, I built this suit, I built this like, this plasma ray or something, and just can nullify the effects, and then Superman has to find some creative way to get the ray gun out of Lex's hand and just put him in jail, right? So yeah, okay, great. 21 years old. Yeah, you did watch the Superman movie, great. Um, and then my point is like your generation, right? Didn't grow up on that version of Superman being kind of the mainstream, right? Um, Whereas I grew up watching that movie in the theaters, and that was like outside of comic books. I mean, For me, Superman was not a comic book character. Superman for me was a movie, somebody I saw on the big screen and that I came to understand got his start in comic books and had a 70, what was that at that point, 60-year legacy, 50-year legacy, um, back in the 80s, right? Um, Prior in comic books, on television, in comic books and popular culture. Like you got to realize Superman was like on your lunchbox. He was on your um, he was in your Valentine's Day cards. He was like everywhere, not just television, not just film, not just comic books, but everywhere. But that part of the character, that lore of the character is something you have not seen as of late. You're getting it now with this new gun production. That's what I'm happy about. Like I'm happy about this gun production because it's revitalizing this IP the way it deserves to be revitalized. And I hope you really take, I know you have a preference for Batman, it sounds like, or Flash maybe, whatever the case may be. And I'm not trying to like change your mind, but please have the proper approach to the character, right? Go back, read some classic comic books, read the history of Superman, right? That he's the first costume superhero. He really paved the way for characters like Wonder Woman, Superman, or sorry, Batman. This was even before Spider-Man, right? So just understanding that, I think, will help put everything into context. Like, you know, um, without understanding that, it's like, there's the reason you have Captain America, the reason you have uh, anybody in Marvel or DC or Boom Studios or whatever. It hails from Superman comics. Yeah, Batman's a great character, but in the legacy of characters, Batman is second to Superman. That's just that's just how it is. And this will be a debate. I don't anticipate everybody's going to share my opinion, but like if your favorite character is Batman, understand why he's more compelling than Superman. Um, if you think, tackling overcoming your tragedies to do something noble is good, that's fine. But what about just being noble for the fact of being noble, right? Um, and Superman's, yeah, he's blessed with superpowers, but think about it. If you had absolute power and you didn't wield it for your own purposes, that's a pretty big statement in and of itself, right? That's why Superman is the people's hero. Batman also the people's hero, but he does it in ways that you know there's a line, right? Batman draws a line, and he never really crosses that line. But I think Batman has to take a more hard approach because he's dealing with like the criminally insane. So they're just really two different characters, and again, night and day. I like both characters. I really like. You can't have Superman without Batman. That's another part of the history, right? You can't have Batman without Superman. You can't have one without the other. They're best buddies. They are, yeah. I mean, even to this day, right? They're still constantly in each other's presence. Um, But yeah, I think Batman's the more complicated character. Like if you were to pick complexity in story, complexity in characters, complexity in villains, in scenarios and universe and all that, Gotham is a much more complex place than Metropolis. Um, I think ultimately you got just people like who love horror, who love kind of the macabre. They like the darkness of like stories and stuff. That's cool. Um, but you know, I think again, it just all goes back to the history, right? There's no Batman without Superman, and so there's no anybody without Superman, and that's why Action Comics One is the most expensive comic book in our hobby, and that's why Superman will always be the legacy superhero character. And that's just like a fact. You can't change that. Now, there's two ways to go about this. Like, we can let Superman die, say he's had his day, and we need to move on from Superman, which is kind of where we were trending, right? We were trending toward like, yeah, Superman, he's your dad's hero. He's got no relevance in today's world. He's not a popular character. He's boring. He's uninteresting. These characters have more depth, more complexity, blah blah blah. Um, I would argue that that's not the case. The story of Superman has a lot of themes that are your classic, mythology type uh, themes. You got a character, very powerful character, wields a lot of power, but chooses to use that power to aid others. There's something very powerful in that very basic concept. Um, there's the fact that he's an immigrant to this world, right? He's from another planet. He's not from Earth, yet he adopts Earth as his own. Um, he adopts America as his own and fights to protect America. Right? That's a very powerful statement um, on the immigration front. So there's a lot of things to really like about Superman as well. That's right. Both are symbols of hope. And both, yeah, Batman is very noble because most people who are dealt a tragedy like that would shy away and, you know, they, they would become fearful of, um, well, first of all, you get consumed by fear, you get consumed by hate, you get consumed by revenge, and that's why I think we like Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's because he's not consumed by any of that. He takes the high road. He draws a line. Like this is where the criminals go, but this is the line I draw. I will not be a criminal. I will not be. Um, I will not let their madness infect me. That's it, which is great. I love that about Batman. Um, they're two of my favorite characters, and I'm glad I got to showcase again this really great relationship between the two characters. I know I'm showing off the cover where they're like killing each other, but let me show a better one here. Here we go. This is a great cover of the two characters. Um, you know, I love the fact that they're real. When you talk about a duo, like two characters that have, because Batman, he got Robin He eventually got Robin as his like sidekick. Um, and Superman didn't really have a sidekick. It sounds weird to say Superman needs any kind of sidekick, but really, Batman and Superman, they were the first sort of like superhero duo. Um, and it says a lot about their relationship because Superman could be friends with anybody, right? He could be friends with he doesn't have to be friends with anybody. And he could be friends with most people, right? But he picks Batman. And the reason he picks Batman is because Batman figures out so many things about Superman. Batman figures out, um, where the Fortress of Solitude is. Batman figures out that Superman has certain like weaknesses, right? Batman figures out um, who his identity is, but doesn't tell people. Superman also knows Batman's identity, and he doesn't tell anybody, right? So that level of trust between these two characters, and the fact that you know Batman's can solve these little sort of ground mysteries that Superman can't, and Superman has these like abilities that Batman doesn't have, so they kind of like lean on each other to like solve crimes or uh, battle, uh, you know, battle enemies and stuff. So it's just a kind of cool, you know, um, what's the word? Like a Starsky and Hutch. It's basically Starsky and Hutch, right? Um, Superman's Starsky, Batman's Hutch. All right. Well, we're having a lot of fun here. Um, I didn't. I haven't talked too much about the trailer, the teaser trailer, or maybe I have talked about. Maybe I started the intro or this stream by talking about the teaser trailer. Um, and I'm trying to. Uh, I always fall into this trap. I always fall into something like if there's a movie that I am really excited about wanting to see, I'll kind of hype myself about. I'll hype it in my mind, right? I'll hype it in my mind, and then when I actually see it, I'll be like, "Man, that movie was didn't live up to the hype at all," and I'll be disappointed. Deadpool Wolverine is a great example of that. I enjoyed Deadpool Wolverine. Don't get me wrong; it was funny, but I hyped it up in my mind. And when I saw it, I left the theater thinking, you know, I was like, like I would say 75% satisfied. Um, there were some aspects I really enjoyed, like all the character reveals, like, like Blade, um, Channing Tatum being Gambit, that was hilarious. Um, and all the Wolverine, the different uh, Wolverine characters, Age of Apocalypse Wolverine showing up, Crucifix Wolverine showing up, Henry Cavill Wolverine show, like all these alternate Wolverine versions. That was fun, but yeah, the actual story and substance of the movie versus what I thought they would introduce and cover and all was that was where the sort of the gap in enjoyment was. Like it's like I had one story in my mind, and what I was presented with, although it was entertaining, it was not the the movie I thought I was going to see. Um, so ultimately, yeah, there's a little bit of like you're let down, It's a little disappointing in that sense. And there's a lot of movies like that. I was disappointed by Black Adam. I built Black Adam up in my mind. I was disappointed by um, what else? Um, one movie I wasn't disappointed in? Wonder Woman 1984. That was a great movie. Um, I felt like that movie should have gotten a lot more love than it did. It had all the elements: good story, funny, romance, kind of like created create a little bit of substance. Like Wonder Woman went through a little bit of a emotional journey on that in that movie. Created some depth and substance for her character, and we love Gal Gadot, right? We love Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, and then that I don't know, just I guess that wasn't didn't have the impact, and they decided Gal Gadot Wonder Woman wasn't going to move forward. So I mean, you know, things like that. That's disappointing, right? You enjoy a movie like that, and you get the opposite, or versus like something really hyped up doesn't live up to the bill. Those are those are always disappointing outcomes. Did you watch Smallville? Curious. You're old enough to have seen Smallville as a probably a child. No, you're probably yeah, you're a young child during Smallville, right? Did you watch Smallville? Because Smallville's incredible. Smallville, in my opinion, was like it's created a new genre. It was like superhero television series. It was pretty much the first successful superhero ongoing television series with like multiple seasons, right? It led to what is currently the quote unquote CW or WB, whatever they're calling it, CWDC series. Yeah, I agree. If you're just trying to make money off an IP, and just attaching writers and hey, get this done, and just there's a lot of movies like that. It seems like the Sony Spider-Man movie, the Spider-Man movies, the I should say the spin-off movies, Morbius, Craven, Venom to a certain degree. What was the other one? There was one more. Oh yeah, Madam Web, right? These are all just like kind of what you're saying. Like they just wanted to cash in on the Spider-Man IP, and you can't do that. You I think audiences and people are kind of getting tired of just rehashing a narrative, superhero narrative. Um, you got to kind of put more thought into it than you got to be comic accurate for one. You can't rely on CG all that much, and if you are relying on CG, it's got to be just like got to be a spectacle. And I think what made Deadpool Wolverine work was, there's the whole breaking of the fourth wall element, plus just the crass jokes in that one. They're just being so raunchy with the humor and all that. That was really what was enjoyable about that. Yeah, go watch Smallville. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy Smallville. I recommend Smallville. Um, and it's really easy to watch. I would recommend like definitely watch season 1 and 2. You can probably the first 5 seasons are just spectacular, but like seasons 1, 2, 3, and then 5 for certain. You have to watch 5. But so good. And then right around season 6 and 7, they start killing people off, and like you don't see Pete around anymore, and it just becomes this whole like I don't know. It kind of like elevates and graduates to bigger budgets, kind of better special effects, but there's a lot of new characters. You got like Green Arrow and Flash and all these people popping up, and um, yeah, it kind of becomes it loses the original sort of charm. I guess with any show, you're gonna transition into other story plots and lines, but it definitely kind of loses its charm the later you get. I never got to watch through the end of it, but I hear it ends pretty good. With the whole Clark and Lois getting married and all that, and Clark transitioning to being Superman eventually. So they graduate from Smallville altogether. Um, yeah, like I'm just really excited about the the Superman movie, and it looks like everybody now is kind of getting on board on social media as well. Like I just it's I don't know if it's my algorithm, but it's all I see on my like social media feed. I was seeing a lot related to Superman the movie prior to the teaser trailer. Um, because I'm following James Gunn, I'm following Jim Lee, I'm following DC, I'm following Superman, like Geek of Steel, all these like Superman related geeks contents, because that's kind of like what I like. But now after the teaser trailer, it's like every third post is like some person like talking about Superman or crypto or you know talking about the trailer. Um, YouTube as well. Like everybody's just losing their mind over this like teaser trailer. Really, they haven't really exposed much, um, except like a really killer. I talked about this. Um, we were when they announced the project. I talked about this at nauseum. I was like, they didn't have rights to the John Williams soundtrack, so they couldn't use John Williams' Superman theme for the movie. And I was like, was very at odds with that. I was like, you know, it's just not the same character without that theme. Dun da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun rum, ba, ba, right? That theme is the character. It's like, and again, like I understand, it's a licensing thing, but they so that's the thing about like music, the way they incorporated that theme, dun, da, 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 and I'm sure they'll give credit to John Williams, but they really created a different score around those tones, right? And it's like it's they slow it down, they put a voice to that theme in this teaser trailer. You notice that, right? It's like a voice, and but it's the theme. Hey, Merrick, what's up? Right? That's what I'm talking about. Glad people are getting hyped about this movie. Finally, it's like been waiting for it. Now it's like you just see everybody and their mother getting excited about Superman again. I just love it. I love it. It's kind of what I was hoping for. Just this revival right around the character. It's finally happening because like we knew that, with the documentary coming out, and it's now on DVD, you can actually go and get the Christopher Reeve, uh, you know, Man of, is it the Man of Steel? No, he's called Becoming Superman or something like that. Oh no, it's called Superman. It's like Superman. That's it, literally what the documentary is called. Um, but Christopher Reeve, yeah, Superman. Uh, Christopher Reeve's life is portrayed in this movie, and it just covers like how he became an actor. Went to Juilliard. He's um, he was roommates with Robin Williams. I mean, these were like two of the most talented um, stage actors or stage performers in the industry at the time. And Superman gets one of the top billed movies coming out of Warner Brothers Studios. The movie's an incredible hit. It came out though after Star Wars, so it's like it's a follow up to Star Wars. Imagine if it had come out before Star Wars, but it came out after Star Wars. Can't go back and change that. But it was this huge hit, led to a sequel, led to several sequels, and he got kind of typecast into playing Superman because that was like what people wanted to see, and he got paid a lot of money to don the suit in those subsequent movies. So the franchise essentially. He did play other roles, but he was most known for that role. Then he had a tragic accident, equestrian accident, that left him paralyzed. And, um, you know, he doesn't let that tragedy keep him down. He has a new purpose, and he really um, works to build a foundation and advocate for people with disabilities, people who have spinal injuries, raises a lot of money toward research and finding cures for paralysis, just giving resources to people because like there's a lot of resources that go into dealing with I don't even want to say handicap, dealing with that kind of um, uh, situation. You're given a situation that you people have to deal with, and it's a very challenging, uh, physically challenging um, situation. And again, Christopher Reeve approached it with dignity, courage, and gave hope to so many people um, throughout the world. Um, and it, again, uh, you know, that documentary was well timed. It was well timed because you have people talking about Superman with the new movie. You have this movie come out. It educates people on the character Superman and how this man portrayed a hero and became Superman, a hero for millions himself. And if anything, if people don't watch the movie, I'm fine with that. If people don't um, end up, loving Superman as an IP, I'm fine with that. But if this whole movement on Superman gets people to go back and watch the Christopher Reeve original Superman movie and learn about that actor's life and his legacy and the history of Christopher Reeve, that for me is the real victory. So I just love the fact that like, you have a whole generation maybe who didn't know or maybe have heard of Christopher Reeve but don't know the details or circumstances around who he was or what his life was about. But now you do. When I see young people rewatching or watching for the first time the original Superman movie, Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, uh, Ned Beatty, right? Um, Miss Tessmacher. What's the actress's name? Ugh, it's gonna bug me. But you got this all-star cast. Richard Donner, the director. You got this really big studio movie. Some of the best, you know, special effects at that time, making a man fly with wires, but making it look like he's actually flying and at high speeds and all that. All that, man. If it brings eyes back to that project, to that actor, to that actor's life, and how he's impacted and inspiring other people to do the good under incredible odds and circumstances that Christopher Reeve had to deal with, that is the victory I want to see. Could care less if Gunn's movie makes $1 billion or whatever, but if people get that interested in Christopher Reeve, Superman, and rewatching that or watching that for the first time and getting involved with the Reeve Foundation and understanding what Christopher Reeve, his wife, the foundation they left, and the fact that his children are, you know, carrying on the foundation's work, that to me is the real victory out of this whole revival of the character through the movie, through DC Studios. What's up, Ian and Becca Comics? Hope everyone's having a good evening. Hope it is. Yes, we are hopeful for a lot of things. Superman's bringing back the hope. Yes, Superman. All right, so yeah, it's just going to be a fun 7 months waiting for this movie. And again, trying not to attach expectations to it. Go back and watch some of my other videos where I talk about Superman for like hours at a time. But in some of those videos, I mention like my anxiety around Gunn's approach to Superman. And initially, I was like, is Gunn going to put underwear on him or not? And I was like, Gunn better put that damn underwear on the suit. And he did. And the backlash toward that was there initially, but it seems to have faded. So people have forgotten the whole underwear issue. But Superman's in a more classic looking, modernized suit. Again, it's like, New 52 Superman mated with the classic Superman look, and they birthed the Gun Superman suit. Essentially, that's what it is. It's just this like bastard of the Superman classic and the New 52 suit, which is fine by me. It looks great. Looks great on the actor. I gotta learn the actor's name like the back of my hand. It's Corn Sweat, David Corn Sweat. Um, but yeah, suit looks great. Lois looks great. I love Lois's look. I just love the fact that she's like this very strong, intelligent reporter, journalist. Um, yeah, like she just that's Lois. It's Lois. Lex, I like the Lex look as well. Lex Luthor looking very Lexy with the shaved head. Um, Although I would have preferred Lex to be maybe a little older, like this. But I know Lex and Superman are of the same age, so whatever. That's the thing; they didn't get comic accurate about the original Superman movie, because you got to remember, Superboy and Lex Luthor, they attend the same. They're in the same grade in Smallville. Okay, so they're essentially like friends in what middle school or high school, whatever that is, and then um, Superboy tries to put out this chemical fire that Lex started in his house, and when he blows out the chemical fire, it pretty much just uh, you know leaves him bald. He blows the chemical like destroys his hair, and Lex Luthor blames Superboy for his baldness, and that's what really prompts the whole rivalry, uh, which is just like ludicrous. But anyway, they are friends, and that's what I loved about Smallville too. It just like established them as friends around the same age, although Lex was older in Smallville. He was like college age, and Clark was still in high school, right? But they're the same age. Um, but yeah, in this movie, it'll be interesting to see how that relationship, how that friendship is defined, whether it's a remnant from Smallville, if it is something, a relationship that came out of Smallville, or if it's something different, like they meet as adults and, you know, they, but I mean, it's a friendship. It's like a friendship, I'm sure, but it looks like a friendship under false pretenses because Lex is just befriending Clark, um, without revealing his true intentions of being evil. Like his intention is to more nefarious. He wants to gain power and you know uh, wealth and power, and use it for uh, his own purposes. Um, didn't really get a good look at Jimmy Olsen. I'm sure he was there in the footage there somewhere, but I know the actor they got looks like a great Jimmy Olsen. So in terms of the casting, I think physically everybody looks like they should be looking. And who doesn't love Crypto the dog? Do you see that dog? How adorable is that dog? That dog's a real star. I mean, he was the star of the teaser trailer for sure, hands down. It was all about Crypto, introducing Crypto, right? We got the tease of like them sitting on the moon, right? Man and dog. And that dog is like, you just want to go out and adopt a dog like that now. Like, um, first of all, he's a mutt. Crypto's always was a mutt, right? Crypto's like a mutt. He's not like a purebred dog or anything. And just the most adorable. Like, how did they cast that dog? Just wondered who the owner of that lucky dog is. It's just, yeah, the trailer looked great. The dog was new and cool. Yes, yes. It was not a CG dog at all. It was like a real dog. He's like pulling, he's pulling Superman. Just, it's awesome. Just awesome how they how that relationship will be fun to watch. And it's funny because I know in this last Superman series, the Superman where they're telling the post marriage Superman with the two super sons, and they're living on the Kent farm again. And um, again, I didn't get into that series, but one thing I know is they introduced Crypto, like a powerless Crypto is basically just a regular dog uh, in that series. And I know there were some poignant like scenes with that golden retriever. So Crypto was like a golden retriever in that series. So it's not like I think Crypto's kind of been in the zeitgeist of you know that attached to the Superman legacy for quite some time now. I know there was an animated feature. We've always had kind of super pets floating around here and there in animation and obviously in comic books. But yeah, this is I think our first real sort of live action super pet that we're going to get to see. And if that alone doesn't get you excited, because I mean, what's next? Like, Super Monkey, Super Horse, Streaky the Cat, right? All these like wonderful super pets are gonna the pet is gonna be like the the hall of It's not the Hall of Justice, it's the pet store of justice or something. There's like pet store of super pets in there, and they're all just gonna bust out and start fighting crime and stuff. It's gonna be beautiful to watch. But yeah, looks like again the thing I was hoping for is happening. It was happening before the teaser trailer, um, which I was heartened by. Like all these young people, like discovering Christopher Reeve Superman for the first time, watching it for the first time, doing their little reaction videos to it, and like just genuinely fun to see them enjoy the movie like I enjoyed it many many years ago as a kid. Um, and them being excited for this new project, which I've been saying, like, we need Superman to be back on top, like the literal top, like the top of the industry, from a book sales standpoint, from a movie sales standpoint, from a cultural, you know understanding and cultural discourse standpoint. Like, just people should be talking about Superman again. People should be enjoying Superman. Everything, you got 80 years of Superman stuff to enjoy. Going back and even watching like the Dean Kane Superman. I mean, I don't fault you for that. If you want to go back and watch, Dean Kane um, and what's her name? I'm forgetting the actress's name. The really hot one. Yeah, the trailer. Okay, there's something to be said about superpowered heroes being way more powerful than the villains to always win. It makes sense to win so often then. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's the case in this upcoming one, though. It looks like there's like a cause, because, Superman in the comic books is not the only Kryptonian. There's like, there's a whole race of Kryptonians, that Brainiac shrinks down, right? And there's this whole city of miniature like super people in a jar. Um, and they've introduced like General Zod, people that have like equal strength, and um, they've obviously introduced a character like Darkseid and Doomsday. These are also very powerful like alien races, that are, in terms of strength and power they have, they're on par with Superman. So yeah, you're right. Like, if Superman's fighting like Joker, yeah, it's not much of a it's not interesting to watch. But if he's fighting like Black Adam, or if he's fighting, you know, I guess members of the Justice League, I mean that's a little stretch too, because he could probably take them all out single handedly, like easily. But when you bring in characters like Brainiac, right? Mind you, Brainiac's this alien uh, super mind, right? He's got all this technology and things that can destroy like Kryptonians, and uh, um, if Superman's, and I think that's worth speculating on in this movie, is Brainiac going to be the villain, because that's formidable. And I think that trailer shows whatever he's fighting, it's his life is threatened, right? He's like close to death. He has to call his dog to like take him somewhere safe. And I think Superman, you can make Superman vulnerable to something out there, right? Um, but yeah, you're right. Like, in an everyday human setting, you know, like taking out like common criminals, or just taking out terrorist networks, or even just fighting like dictator, you know, junta regimes, dictatorships. Those things are rather easy for the Man of Steel. You have to give him somewhat of a challenge, I would agree. That's another thing. There's a whole, Superman. Think when people think of like Superman, I think a lot of them are, you know, going back to like the Silver Age and Gold. So when you reach like Silver Age Superman, that's a great example. Superman's not really the situations you find him in are just rather ridiculous. And it's kind of like you're right. Like, what you can't bring like a super strong character to be, find him every week. That gets stale. So you have to find new ways to like challenge this guy, and it's always like some like new technology or ray or something, something like something technological related, or duping him into thinking a certain way, and like, like all these creative like but they're all just like these like formulaic like ways to um, present some kind of challenge to Superman. And Superman has to find either some clever or lucky or, just some formulaic way to get out of it. And yeah, I mean, that was sort of the appeal. It was just kind of very light. It was almost like it was really targeted at kids, really, like kids buying um, some of the channels and avenues to create that kind of conflict for a character like Superman. You just kind of had to buy it as a kid. And that got much more challenging to do as we entered like the modern age of comics. The modern age of comics, like characters were just more real. Characters were just like they were complex. They were dealing with issues, and so that's what happened with Superman in the '90s. You had Superman dealing with, I, you know, trying to protect the people he loved, trying to protect that secret identity, um, you know, overcoming a character that could take him out, right? Him dying and having to be revived by Kryptonian technology and all these like, he just became kind of more real. John Byrne brought a more real, modern sense to the character. Um, put him in these situations where, yeah, he's the most powerful guy in the room, and he's just gonna take you out, right? It's kind of like, here I am. Oh yeah, like by the way, I'm Superman. Hi, you're going to jail. And there's something to be said about that. Just like coming to a situation, knowing you're going to save save whatever, save the people. That's your first and foremost, like, protecting the people, getting them out of harm's way, and then just putting the bad guy somewhere in some solitary confinement. So yes, it's formulaic. It gets old after a while, but it is enjoyable. I think for me, at least, it is. Anytime you get Superman, like, hey, here I am. Okay, you go here, you go there, and boom, you know, uh, disaster, tragedy averted. I almost think you have to. I don't think Matt Reeves' Batman fits in the DCU, but there's been talk that they're going to try to make that work. I just think it's going to be hard. We'll have to see. I mean, I'm for almost creating, yeah, like a new DCU Batman, um, because I feel like Gunn's take on Gotham and Batman will be much different than Matt Reeves. Nothing against Matt Reeves Batman, but I didn't really enjoy the movie. as much as other people did. Um, I'm more of the Nolan camp. I think Nolan's Batman will never be topped. I don't even think Gunn can top Nolan's Batman. Nolan's Batman is like in a league all by himself. That's just a you go back and watch all three movies. They're just like classic movies. Um, the second one being the best, I think. But what I think, yeah, I think when you try to, and this is it's a profit driven thing, right? You can't just kill Matt Reeves' Batman because Matt Reeves' Batman brought in like it killed at the box office, right? And it had some great, it had a great cast, had some really good writing. I think ultimately, like you got to let you got to let Matt Reeves play with Batman and do that in its own little realm, keep it separate, and then there's no rush to bring Batman in, right? You can establish so much, and build toward it, right? So let Matt Reeves' Batman play itself out. They've got a good thing going on HBO, Max or whatever, and they've got the Penguin. They're going to bring Bane and Deathstroke, right? That's going to be awesome. How awesome is that going to be? Um, they're bringing a Clayface movie. That's going to be cool. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all integrates. But it all is. I mean, ultimately, all these projects that we're talking about, except the Matt Reeves one, all these other projects, Clayface, um, the Deathstroke Bane movie, those are all DC Studio productions. They're under Gunn's um, production. So you know anything coming out, it's part of Gunn's vision versus the other way around, and ultimately it's the studio's decision, right? Studio DC Warner Brothers, they are the ones that greenlight Batman, and they're the ones who want to see this Batman work with this Superman universe. But I honestly don't think there's a rush to do that. I think Superman's going to be what it is. Superman's going to be a series of movies. And what you're going to see from this Superman movie is you're going to see the Lantern series. You're going to see the Authority come, right? A more violent, a more sort of kind of like the Batman uh, tone on the side of the Authority, right? Sort of a more street level, kind of violent film with the Authority. But I think there's a lot of potential, right? Because you're bringing in Wildstorm characters. So I've been specking on Wildcats. I think all of you should be specking on Wildcats because at some point you're going to see the Grifter. You're going to see Zealot. You might even see Fairchild and Gen 13. You might see Gen 13 popping up at some point. Um, I mean, that's what Jim Lee wants. I'm sure Jim Lee and James Gunn have talked about this very topic. Where which characters are we going to incorporate? Which ones are we going to leave out? Or which ones are we going to leave any out? Are we going to just address everybody? Because the DC universe is huge, right? You just can't bring 100 villains and 100 heroes. What are you going to do with like Swamp Thing? What are you going to do with like Man Bat? What are you going to do with like Dead Man? You going to bring all those characters? I know they're already talking, like bringing Adam Strange, the sci-fi portion of the DC universe to the mix, right? There are just so many things you can do right now. Gunn's got all the play pieces in front of him. We're talking about a universe more massive than Marvel, because Marvel, I mean, Marvel has a lot of characters too, but compared to the level of pieces that DC has, um, it's not even close. I mean, like DC has way more, you know, characters and pieces to play with, um, and that can also present a challenge, right? Because at what point do you s- say, okay, enough is enough? We don't need certain characters to come in, but you can't appease everyone. There are comparable storylines to Infinity War, and um, I mean, Crisis is a probably a good example of, it's the equivalent of Secret Wars on the Marvel side. In terms of Infinity War, War of the Gods, um, that's, if you look at the Wonder Woman run, the Perez Wonder Woman run that led to sort of a mini series War of the Gods. Um, Ultimately, Wonder Woman defeats the antagonist god there, in a battle, um, that threatens, the existence of the universe, right? So there's a lot of, I guess, equivalent storylines you could definitely, I think, yeah, I think at some point you have to bring Crisis on Infinite Earths to, but it's one of those, like, it's almost one of those projects that's like too difficult to do because I don't know, like, how do you, at the time, because it's really one of those stories that established the multiverse, right? I just feel like if you were to bring that story to film now, it'd kind of be like, it just wouldn't be novel. Wouldn't be, because like that was the novel thing about that series. It was like, it was taking this concept of like, hey, there's these like multiple herbs that converge, and now like, these like two timelines are converging, um and the heroes on both sides have to like find a way to stop the evil force that's trying to destroy all the different other timelines, right? And that's just like, that's so cliche now. It's like it wasn't cliche in the 80s, like what, 40 years ago. But today, if you were to just bring it as is, and that's the thing, like Secret Wars, it's it's kind of it's kind of like Crisis, but Marvel's like, it's ironic because Marvel Secret the original Secret Wars wasn't a like a convergence of worlds or like a one emerging timeline, right? Like where it destroys all the other timelines and only one timeline emerges. That was not Secret Wars at all. Wars was literally like, um, a god bringing all the heroes and villains on a planet and making them kind of like fight each other, like, try to like, battle each other to see who ends up on top, right? Um, but the way Secret Wars was reimagined was more along the Crisis storyline, and that's what Marvel's kind of bringing to the forefront first. So if DC does do Crisis, it's going to be it's going to look like they copied Marvel when it was probably the other way around. Um, I hope they don't do any of that. To be honest, I hope they. I think what we will see is we're going to see a build up to a baddie. I think that baddie will be Darkseid, and I think what's going to happen is much like the MCU did it, right? Um, when you see Thanos come and he's going to wreak havoc and destruction, um, just because he wants to, right? There's no real agenda outside of that. He just wants to take over this planet and make it his own and make all people on Earth slaves. Um, you're going to get Darkseid coming to Earth, and then boom, everybody, all the like Superman can't do it on his own, so you got to get all the characters contributing from like different fronts. You know, whether it's Diana Prince leading the Amazons, kind of like what they were trying to do in Zack Snyder's movie, right? But it didn't really get fleshed out. I think there's a way to do that in the in this new timeline, um, where yeah, you bring Atlantis, you bring just like all these armies together, different factions, Justice League, Justice Society, um, the Lantern Corps. Uh, but yeah, there's definitely a way to do that for sure. Let's see, there's been talk amongst fans. Okay, give Batman Spidey treatment, all that MCU. If I can ever get a Detective Chimp appearance, then I'm happy. Yeah, say there's so many great DC characters. I mean, like Crypto. Think about Crypto, right? He he exemplifies like all the like one of many great characters that Gunn can play with, and I'm so glad he like Gunn could have gone one of several ways with Superman. He could have taken just like just the whole crypto-less, Superman approach. But the fact that he's like bringing the super dog, and mind you, like crypto, like causes a lot of havoc in the comics because he's like a dog. So like you like he doesn't understand like when you play fetch with him, he'll go and fetch like a school bus or something, right? He'll like bring back a school bus, and like people are terrified, and like he's just this dog who has these powers, and he just doesn't understand the consequences of some of the things he does, and it's always like super boy or Superman trying to like train him and like make him. But yeah, the crypto gets better. Crypto um, gets smarter and understands. Oh, I'm Superman's sidekick, and like I can uh, solve crimes and help. Um, there's always like great things where he's like kind of pretending to be Superman when like Lana or like Lois are on to like Superman, right? He'll kind of act like Superman out in the distance, like with the cape flying, and Lois will be like, "Oh, there's Superman over there. Oh, so you're not Superman. I was fooled." Or Lana or somebody saying that, right? It was always kind of like the his his like um what is it where you like the replacement? It's kind of like his replacement person that acts like him. Zero Hour, yeah, that would be a good one. That's another difficult one to do because it spans so many title. It spans the entire DC universe, right? And that went on for like I want to say it's like 40 issues, right? Because it spanned multiple. I mean, that was one of those things like you couldn't really keep up. You literally had to be reading like the entire DC catalog to just stay on top of Zero Hour, because it spanned the entire range of books. So I'm not too sure how they'd bring, but I mean, something to that effect could work in the gun universe. Yeah, if they're doing something Zero Hour again, I'm sure it'd be. Um, it could be that would be interesting. I think that's the thing that maybe they could work toward. We're gonna have to see with that Zero Hour who's in the new Zero Hour series. But something tells me if they do Zero Hour again, it's just gonna be within the because you can't do it across so many titles. You gotta kind of keep it within a core group of books. Um, but it would be interesting to compare, like, right, because you can kind of do those comparisons, like Secret Wars. Who are they? What are the titles that are coming out in the Secret Wars? Well, we know Fantastic Four is coming. They just launched Venom, right? So we know Black Symbiote Spider Man's coming at some point. They're saying Miles Morales might make his debut in Secret Wars, and it makes sense because Miles is dealing with all those little, you know, glitches in the MCU, right? So it makes sense he would come and be part of whatever that outcome is. But you kind of get a sense of from the MCU what they've announced and what's coming, kind of see how they build it. Um, because we're gonna get Red Hulk now. We're gonna get Falcon and probably Steve Rogers back, and so you're just gonna get all these like people from it's gonna be 2010 all over again with the MCU um, coming back for Secret Wars. Robert Downey Jr. as Doom and Bird Doom. I think we kind of know what to expect in Secret Wars, right? You're gonna get a battle world. You're gonna get Doom. He's gonna be God Emperor Doom. We're gonna see heroes fight each other, villains and heroes in this new universe working together to defeat Doom, but they're initially going to fight each other and blah blah blah, and they're going to take Doom down. I think that's pretty much the story in a nutshell, right? Um, and then create one timeline again, just one. They're literally going to kill the multiverse and then just keep it the 616 timeline, right? I'm glad you asked me about the crypto book. If you're going to spec on crypto as a character, there's a lot of there's like the Crypto Bizarro first appearance. There's Crypto's first appearance. There's a this Legion of Super Pets first appearance. Those are all kind of big books. This one is in my opinion, a big book, but you can get it probably for dollars, like a couple dollars. I'd go out and get Superboy 109. this is the first appearance of Swifty, who is like uh, basically crypto's sort of arch nemesis. And it stems from the fact that Swifty gets replaces it basically replaces crypto. Um, that double crossing super pooch, he's stolen my master from me. Now he's the top dog of the universe. This is a great. I would recommend that. The first appearance of Swifty, uh, who's the will be hopefully the arch nemesis of crypto and the animated movies. You know, there are going to be more animated movies because, man, like every baby and their mom and their grandma and their childless cat aunts are going to be wanting to you know uh, watch take their kids to watch the crypto animated movie. Yeah, Swifty. Not Taylor Swifty, but just Swifty. uh, yeah. I think I'm most excited about the possibility of the Wildcats coming into the mix. I'm really excited about that fact. And it kind of makes me want to go and read sort of the later volumes of Wildcats to see how right now how they're interacting with the DCU in comic books. Because I know, like the Wildcats and has been in crossovers with Superman, the Justice League and everybody. So it's like they're well established now, but they're also sort of more underground, like kind of doing the whole covert operations, dealing with the sort of the I guess the cosmic aliens and forces that um, seek to make it make it here to Earth and undermine Earth outside of the purview of the reach of the quote unquote main superheroes, right? So like kind of working the back end of any kind of um, I'm using IT terms, but like any backdoor entry to Earth's database. The Wildcats are defending that the backdoor entries. So that's kind of like I'm if that's if they get added to the mix, I'm very excited for that. And I think most collectors would be down with that because we need something like just to reinvigorate um, the DCU. I don't think they should have to rely on like Sergeant Rock or like I know a lot of people want to see the Swamp Thing, and I know that Swamp Thing is coming, but you know what I mean. Like Swamp Thing, you know, I would rather see the Wildcats than Swamp Thing, but I know a lot of other old school people that probably want to see Swamp Thing over, Wildcats. It just kind of depends on which era you grew up in. All the older guys love Swamp Thing, and so I think guys in my generation, the Gen Xers, want to see um, the Wildcats. I don't know what the young people want to see, but I'm sure the young people want to see is like maybe the Authority or something. I don't know. Um, they probably want to see Lobo. They probably want to see. I want to see Lobo. I mean, Lobo would be great. I know everybody wants to see Deathstroke and Nightwing. We've only had Nightwing in the Teen Titans series, and I don't know how cool or uncool that that rendition is, but I'm sure in Gunn's universe We may see Nightwing before Batman, to be honest, right? I mean, and I'd be down with that, right? Because Nightwing is his own. They've been. I know Nightwing's like the new Batman now. I think, right? Is he the new Batman, or he was? It's confusing because I don't read modern books now. I don't know what's going on in the DCU, but I know there's like a second generation of super kids, right? There's Jonathan Kent. Um, there's Damon. Is it Damien? There's Damian Wayne, and then there's Wonder Woman. It's Diana's daughter is Elizabeth. Is it Elizabeth or something like that? Um, any stories or series that I'm reading at the moment? I wish. Um, I do. I Yeah. Well, I do go back and try to pick up um, trade paperbacks of stuff I haven't read. I recently read Tom King's kind of run on Batman, and I loved it. I love King's take. It was like all the events leading up to the Bat wedding that didn't happen. Right, that was good. Um, I'm not really liking the super family stuff in DC right now, but at the same time, I haven't really delved into it deep enough to really know if it's good or not. But the stuff that I've kind of previewed or looked at, um, kind of made me not want to, because I have my own concept of what Superman is, and when things like when they bring in things like you know when you have too many super people, it just gets confusing and like kind of I don't know, like all the super kids just I don't know if that's an avenue I would have. I understand the need, like it's probably tailored toward people like me with families, right? We want to see Superman dealing with family issues and all that, being a dad, and then it gives younger kids a chance to get in and you know appreciate some of the young blood that's introduced into that franchise. But I don't know. Um, I'm for like keeping characters forever young and just rehashing new stories like Batman, right? Batman can't ever. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if Batman's even Batman these days. I think isn't Grayson the new Batman now, right? I'm confused. You guys straighten me out. Okay. Comic book. Merrick, I don't. I'm sure you've read the Dark Tower series, the Gunslinger Dark Tower series. I'm sure you've read that. If you haven't, I would say go and read that. It's 7 books, um, but they're quick reads. But I'm going to run out of battery here soon. Also, I just want to let you know if I just cut out, it means my battery died, but I had a good time on this stream. But yeah, read that series and then go read the Gunslinger uh, comic book series because it's an incredible Jay Lee artwork, um, along with like King approved comic book scripts. I think King wrote the first series, and then he approved follow up writers to write that. But um, those are yeah, those are all like for the most part original like stories, except for the first one is just a retelling of, I think, book 4, but the subsequent stuff is like all the adventures that first quartet kind of like pursues, and so it's actually uh, you know a deeper exploration of that world. Yeah, correct. That you're gonna enjoy that, man. And I'm hoping that project comes to um, TV TV stream. All right, guys. Yeah, my battery's gonna die, and I just had fun hanging out with you guys. I think the big takeaway for 2025, as we wrap up 2024, is the countdown to July 11th and the new age or the new era of DC, led by the one and only, uh, the original number one greatest American superhero, number one, the first superhero, OG. Have I said it all? Yeah, Superman, Kal-El. Let's go. Yeah, let's go, man. All right. Otaku out. See you guys in the next one. Oh, yeah, join Saturday. Saturday, Jeff and I are going on. We're going to be talking Superman. We're going to be talking DCU. So if you want to see more of that stuff, we'll be on then. All right. Take care. Good night, guys. Peace out.